This video is going to be pretty short. It's going to be a really simple video about how to recycle your coils or your clay from your coils. So this is clay that I just made coils from. The best thing you can do is to recycle your clay as soon as possible. A lot of you guys took home about like maybe 8 coils, 9 coils. You probably ran out of some clay, but you also have a bunch of scraps from like the ends of the coils. And I'm going to show you how to take the scraps like this, and we're going to wedge them. And then I'm going to show you how to hand roll coils. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to wedge your clay. If your clay isn't soft, what you can do is you can take your clay, let's say for example, this was your clay that you had extra of, and let's say it wasn't very soft. You could take it and you could poke some holes in it like this with your finger or with a tool, the back end of a tool or something. Take the back end of your tool and jab some holes in it. And then you can take your sponge with some water and fill those holes with the water. Not full, maybe just a little bit, like that. And then leave this inside your box. And if you take this thing that has the holes in the water inside your box and leave it there, the next day, that water should absorb into the clay, and then it'll be soft enough to wedge again. My clay is soft enough to wedge. Okay. So this is like a kneading process. We call this I'll show you the ram's head technique. Again, I've got my hands on both sides and I'm pushing forward. I'm trying to have, like I always think of the Chicago Bulls logo. So this is the shape we kind of want. You can imagine there's a horn that comes out here, a horn there. That's the nose, you know, the eyes go there. It kind of looks like the head of an animal, called the ram's head technique. I think it's the easiest to learn. But I'm taking the clay and I'm pushing forward and rotating. You'll notice I'm not using my fingers. It's mostly from my wrists that I rotate, and I'm pushing through my palms. You can see that my fingers aren't digging in. If you dig in with your fingers, you're going to create air bubbles. But I'm just going to wedge this clay together. When I finish it, I just want to roll it. And now I'm going to turn this into a coil. When I make coils, it's going to be kind of tricky for you at home perhaps. If your clay is too wet, it will stick to whatever surface you're working on. If your surface is shiny like a kitchen table, it's going to stick really easily if your clay is too wet. I'm working on the surface of this table. The class tables dry things out a lot, so I'm putting water on the top half of the table, because I'll roll the coil here, and then if it starts to dry out a little bit, I can roll it up to where it's wetter, and that'll wet it. For you guys, if you get like a squirt bottle or you take like your sponge, just kind of tap a little bit of water on there, that can help. But when you're rolling coils, you need to work on a surface where the clay isn't going to really stick to it very well. That might be like a smooth concrete floor, like in your garage, like clean an area if you have a garage. Take a little piece of concrete, and concrete's great as long as it's not a really rough texture. And make sure you just dust it off so you don't get, stuff in your clay. A floor works well. Like a tile floor or a linoleum floor or a wood floor. The clay just tends to stick to it more. Kitchen tables usually are polished and shiny, especially glass, it sticks to it, so you don't want to do it on that. If you get a piece of cardboard, like a big piece of cardboard, clay doesn't stick to cardboard. Nice clean piece of cardboard laid flat on top of a kitchen table, that works really well. The cardboard tends to slide around a little bit, but clay won't stick to the cardboard, and you can roll it on cardboard pretty effectively. Okay, so I'm going to take my piece of clay, I'm going to tear it in half, so I've got this log here, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of pound it in my hand, and maybe squeeze it a little bit very lightly with my hands, and kind of work it into a log shape. I don't want there to be any thin spots, but you can see I've kind of worked my clay into like a log shape about the thickness maybe of like half your wrist or your wrist thickness. And then I'm going to take this clay, and the trick to rolling coils is to use a long motion with your hands, but to not use a lot of pressure down. You don't want to push down really hard, when you're rolling a coil, because you'll flatten the coil on one side like this, and then the coil will go dunk, 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 and it'll start kind of like turning square and it won't stay round. If you find that your coil, it feels like it's square and it's going doink, 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 and it keeps kind of being like edgy like that, and it starts getting like kind of oblong and flat. What you can do is take the clay and kind of twist it like this. And if you twist the clay like that and then you roll it, it'll get rid of that. That's a quick way to kind of fix it. So as I'm rolling it, I'm thinking about moving my hands side to side and putting not even the full weight of my hands. Just lightly pushing on it and really thinking side to side. And then as I go, if it's not stretching, I can increase the weight a little bit. You'll notice I'm moving both hands together. That's one way to do it. You can keep your hands apart. So if you start feeling like it goes dunk, 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 you can take it and just kind of twist the coil like this. And by twisting it, that'll get rid of that. Okay. And then here is a coil. That is very similar to the coils that I have extruded. So here is an extruded coil from the extruder. And I flattened that one already. But you can see they're very, very similar in their size and their shape. And that would be a good kind of gauge, is if you have an extruded coil, you can try to recycle your clay into coils. So this is the clay scraps from my first video of making my coil pot. I put 4 coils on and I made the base. And this clay is the leftover from the base and the scraps of those 4 coils. And I'll easily make another 2 or 3 coils that I could use for my pot, depending on how wide your pot gets. If for some reason when you're rolling it, you make a mistake and you're rolling and you end up getting a thin spot in the middle like this, then one thing you can do is just take the coil, bend it, take your coil, stick it together, blend your coil together like this, and then roll that middle area again. And now you've got it rolled back out to where that thin spot's gone. Okay, I got my coil. Again, lightly flatten my coil. If your coil's not perfect, that's okay. We just want to make it decent. And then I've got 2 more coils that I'll be able to add onto my coil pot next time. So that is how you hand roll coil to recycle them. If your clay is a little dry, I would go like that, stick it inside your box or in a plastic bag. And then the next day, dump out any water that's still in these little holes, and then wedge your clay so it's nice and soft so it doesn't crack and split, and then roll yourself some more coils.